Hello, I'd like to welcome you all for joining the presentation today on our new plasma-clean air green ESP range. Great to see many of you here today. Thank you for taking your time to join. I can see there's some existing consultants, contractors and end users that we work with. And it's great to also see some people that we also haven't worked with before. So thank you also for joining. I'd just like to go through firstly, what plasma-clean is and also what I do at plasma-clean. So firstly, my name's Emrys Hughes. I'm a technical sales UK representative for plasma-clean. Many of you will probably already know me, but I've worked for plasma-clean for around 6 years now, a certified food service professional and also a fully qualified mechanical engineer. My role at plasma-clean consists of working with the consultants in relation to specifications, as well as contractors to come up with effective solutions, for the maintenance and servicing aspect of the business. I work predominantly in the kitchen ventilation sector, but more recently I've worked in the HVAC and infection control side of things also. Now I spoke a little bit about myself, I'd like to explain a little bit about what plasma-clean do in the industry. As you can see there, plasma-clean specialise in grease, smoke and odour control solutions for commercial kitchen extraction systems. We use technology known as ionisation and UVC, the traditional air treatment methods. We also work in relation to indoor air quality in the sense of monitoring and infection control solutions. And as part of this, we also provide nationwide maintenance and service support for all this equipment. Plasma-clean's been in the industry since around 2008. It was originally a spin-off from Manchester University in early 2000s. And, we've been going strong since then and we're building every year. So this slide here, before we go into the detail of the ESP Air Green series, basically is a brief mock-up of a kitchen ventilation system. So as you can see there, there's various different grease, smoke and odour control equipment there that we offer in the industry. I'm just going to quickly run through these and explain a little bit about each individual one. So as you can see with my laser pointer there, one of the things we offer as a primary source or stage 1 type filter in a kitchen ventilation system is coil filters. These are around 95% efficient for removing grease at source in the canopy, and the maintenance consists of cleaning these daily. Secondly, you can see there we've got a grease and odour control piece of equipment known as a technically canopy mounted unit. These are normally fitted on higher end cooking applications in the canopy itself, and it uses the UVC light, photolysis and ozonolysis basically to destroy the grease and odour itself. Moving a little bit further into the actual duct system now, we've got the odour control unit, which is known as the Extract 200 and 4200 series. These are for odour control only and sit outside the ductwork themselves and essentially produce ozone, which breaks down the odours. If we move a little bit further on in the system here, which is what we're specifically looking at today in more detail, is the grease, smoke and odour control. Now you can see there, there's a combined electrostatic with UVC system. Now, essentially, this particular system itself is a one-stop shop for grease and odour and smoke control, especially when it's combined with UVC, as you can see there. So this is an ESP on its own for grease and smoke control, and then the ESP UV there is for grease, smoke and odour control. They're around 95% effective in removing grease, smoke and odour, and can be increased in terms of efficiency with single, double and triple pass arrangements. Finally, as you can see here, the last two products, we've got a Techniclean unit, which is essentially a bolt onto the ESP UV, and that's for grease and odour control only. And also we've got activated carbon filters for in situations where essentially discharge points at high level, you don't need carbons, whereas at low level, to act as a residual ozone removal tool, we use carbon filters. Just to also mention as well there, and one of the things we have done is this year is plasma-clean, or Fortis should I say, is part of the plasma-clean group, and through that we offer various different maintenance and services, which include PPM and commissioning, TR19 duct cleaning and inspection, commercial kitchen cleaning and degreasing, fire damper testing, and also COVID-19 disinfection cleaning. So now I've kind of gone through all the pieces of equipment there, as you can see with a laser pointer. I'm now going to look specifically at the ESP systems and what the new plasma-clean air green range offers. So firstly, looking at the fundamentals of the ESP system or electrostatic precipitator, essentially, how do they work? So electrostatic precipitators work by ionizing and trapping grease and smoke particles onto collector plates. They have high particulate removal efficiency, as well as a combined low static pressure. Now, we can also offer incorporated UV, as I mentioned on the last slide, and for also additional odor control. If you look at the diagram below, you can see there, it's a typical arrangement of how an ESP works itself. So as you can see from the left-hand side onwards there, the dirty air first travels into the primary filter, which is like a mesh type filter. This particular filter, the key objective of this is to remove any larger particulate that may potentially damage the ESP cells themselves. So essentially, this could be things like pieces of objects that have gone into the actual ductwork itself, or tissue and things like that. So what happens is, once it's kind of the larger particle that's being filtered there, move over to the ionizer stage. So essentially what happens is the ionizer is an electrified cell, which essentially produces positive and negative electrons, in this case positive. And it basically charges the particle itself. And then once it passes through this stage, because it's positively and negatively charged, what happens is the collection plates essentially act as a magnet, and it causes them to stick. So the grease particulate sticks to the collection plates, as you can see there, as I'm highlighting. Now, essentially, what also happens there is it also causes the smoke to completely be destroyed and dissipated. And any residual grease that's collected on theirs in the buildup then drops into the pan, which is at the bottom of the piece of equipment here. And finally, it shows an activated carbon filter here, but we actually have a post sort of primary filter, so a mesh filter, which removes any residual particulate that may have made its way through the ionizer and collector plate area. And essentially, after all these 4 stages here, there should be, 95% or over clean, effective air. So looking at the ESP systems that plasma-clean offer, well, what do they have? So one of the things we wanted to mention to you was the ionizer. So the plasma-clean system there, if you can see in the top right-hand corner, is a stainless steel blade type. Now, the stainless steel blade type is much more robust than other ESP cells in the industry in the UK. So, for example, another common type of ESP cell is a tungsten wire. Now, essentially, tungsten wire, if it snaps, it can be quite, ineffective and cause the cells to basically break down and not work effectively. And also to add to that, you'll also find that the tungsten wire things themselves can essentially be broken down or damaged very, very easily compared to the ionizer with the stainless steel blade. One of the other things that I'd also like to mention is the depth of the collector cell. So if you think about it in this sense, that the longer the particulate is able to charge and hold for onto the magnetic plate, the more effective it will be. So the greater the depth, the higher efficiency of the cells. One of the things plasma-clean is also able to offer, which you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, is a modular assembly capability. So essentially, you can fit a number of these on top of each other or behind each other for larger or smaller flow rates. And these can be fitted easily together. There is also a large oil sump and draining system, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there. So essentially, where the grease collects, the grease will hold until it's cleaned by our maintenance team. That's something we offer all over the UK. Or essentially, what you can do is you can also add basically a drain system underneath where there's a plug, and essentially that can be taken out that way and disposed of correctly without sending it down the drains, because unfortunately you're not allowed to do that in the UK due to the environmental aspect. And finally, if you look at this one itself, greater voltage, higher efficiency. So essentially, the more power that these power supplies produce, in most cases, the more efficient they are in collecting the particulate itself. Just to add to the sump there as well, you very rarely see in the UK the actual drain systems being used. So now I'm looking specifically at the air green range. So I've explained a little bit about how an ESP works and also what typical ESPs or plasma-clean ESPs have. So what's new on the air green range? Now, many of you who have worked with us before and installed these units will suddenly notice the diagram now, the photo of the new type unit, and you'll be able to see that there is a significant difference in terms of the look of the unit, especially the front door area. But there's three things I'd like to kind of highlight here, and the main one being the one in green there, which is high purification efficiency at higher flow rates. This is extremely important for us, and the reason why is because the ESP utilizes a robust solid state power supply, which ensures high efficient, stable and continuous supply. Now, essentially what that means is for higher flow rates, we can use less units. Now, I'll explain that a little bit further on the next slide, but that's really important to know. We also offer outdoor insulation now. So essentially, these units are able to go outside. We use a much better aviation type alloy plate material, which is much more corrosion resistant, should I say. And essentially what happens is this means that it's able to go outside without limited rust occurring on the units themselves. And finally, building automation or automation options, essentially BMS. So we can offer things like fault statuses on the units, and if there's an auto wash option, which are very rare in the UK essentially, but if you have an auto wash option, we can also preset them for monitoring operations, cleaning frequencies alike. So this is very good for, if the customer wants to know that their unit is working effectively without actually being or going into the plant room itself, you can have a remote monitoring from the BMS. So just looking at this one now, so what changes have we made to the actual design features of the units? And I say you talk, we listen, because we've kind of spoke to a lot of customers about this, how we can improve the unit itself. So looking at the door specifically here, we've looked to upgrade the switch, so it's IP65 rated now. It's much more robust than the old switch. The failure indicator lamp, that's for the BMS side, but it also gives you an indication of whether your unit's working correctly or not. We've also got much more robust IP54 door lock components also. You can also see inside the unit there, it's quite tidy in terms of the wiring on the right-hand side, and it's much simpler than the old type unit, and it also has the BMS or the BA integration in there also. So looking at this also, with some of the other design changes we've made is we've added a bulge into the ESP cells. This was feedback from our maintenance team in terms of the actual handles sticking themselves. It's quite hard to handle them for, in terms of cleaning. So we've increased that, or we've improved that, should I say. We've also increased the screw bar depth from 5.9 mil to 6.5 mil to enhance the cell strength essentially. So they're much more robust than used to be, not as fragile. As you can see there, in terms of the draining hole, we've also basically removed the lip from the draining holes. Originally, when you tried to stack them, you'd have to cut the high lip off, whereas now, because they're flat to the surface, the new units can simply just be sat on top of each other and put together, so the actual grease can go from one unit into the bottom unit itself. It's also an effective waterproof design. And essentially we've got to increase the sliding rail to 1.2 mil, so it's much more robust. So when you slide in cells in and out, and also the pre-filters, means that they're not going to distort as easily. So if we're looking at the benefit highlights of the new air green range, just to go through what we've already run through, but in more detail, or to be more specific, what does high efficiency mean? Essentially, high efficiency means there's less units for larger flow rates, which means more cost effective. So if we specifically look at, the ESP 10,500, or for a flow rate of 2.5 meters cubed a second, you could use one ESP 10,500 plasma clean unit. Whereas if you looked at our competitors, you'd have to use 2 of their units to suit that flow rate. This then means that, there is a reduction in plant space itself, because there's a smaller unit footprint. It also means that it's much lighter to hang, so it's easier to install, and it also gives a potential lower installation cost. This also means that there's less cells to clean, which means there's also a lower cost of maintenance. And finally, it's also a lower pressure drop, which improves, in terms of the aspects of, fan selections. It means you can save money on that. And it also means there's lower running costs. Finally, the other benefits for the Air Green range is that they're suitable for outdoor use, they're BMS compatible, and they're also capable of UV integration. So just like to let you know that the new ESP Air Green range is available to purchase in all sizes now. If anybody would like any further information, including data sheets, specifications, drawings, or any other information on our new ESP Air Green options, then please let me know, as I can send them to you directly. Or alternatively, please contact us using the information on the slide there now. Just to also let you know, we're going to be at the HRC in March, so we're on stand P163. So if you'd like to come and speak to me in person or one of my colleagues and go through one of the units, because we'll have one there, please feel free to do so. We'll also offer a video walk round if it's something of interest to anybody. And I'd just like to also thank you for participating today. I hope you found it useful and hope you found or understand the full benefits of how efficient and how good the plasma-clean Air Green range is. If anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Thank you very much.